Welcome to Mum Summit 2019, where we are finding simple and practical ways to create success through the chaos of motherhood, helping you go from overwhelmed to unstoppable. I'm Sarah Rheinberger. I'm an occupational therapist, a mum of 2 girls, the founder of Empowered Space, and I'm your host for this event. And I cannot wait today to introduce you to the amazing Nicole Iacovoni. Yay!
It's a tough one, but you did great.
Thanks, Nicole. I knew because I'd practiced it, there would be a pause. My apologies. So Nicole Iacovoni is a financial therapist, a licensed couples therapist with 17 years experience. She works with entrepreneurs who want to have a love affair with their money, earn their worth, and manage money like a boss. Without having to give up all of life's guilty pleasures or selling their soul. That sounds fantastic to me. So I'm so excited to have you here, Nicole, and we are going to be talking about making time to date your money. How fabulous. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here, and I could talk about dating your money all day long. So I'm thrilled to be engaging in this topic of discussion with you.
Now, I do think that the concept of dating your money would be quite new for perhaps many of our mums out there listening today. Can you tell us a little bit about that idea?
Yeah, absolutely. So as a couples therapist, naturally, I spend a lot of time thinking about relationships and helping people to improve their relationships, deepen their connections, and sort through problems as couples, right? And I sort of landed on this concept of dating your money by accident because I was experiencing a financial crisis in my personal life. And I had expanded my mental health clinic too big, too fast, found myself $87,000 in debt and losing money in my business every day. And so after a couple of ugly cries, I was trying to pull myself together and figure all of that out and didn't really have the answer. And so one day I was in a couples therapy session gone wrong, really. I was distracted by my money stuff and wasn't really paying attention to what was happening in that session, which I admit was very bad on my part as a therapist. But when I woke up to the conversation, this couple was lashing out at each other. I mean, they're calling each other names and they're blaming one another. And, the husband is telling the wife, you don't do enough for me. And she says, you don't appreciate me. And so after leaping in and sort of, gathering that all together, I stopped and I thought to myself, oh my goodness, this relationship is toxic and it needs so much work. And then I thought, and my money relationship is toxic and needs so much work. And so that got me thinking, okay, what advice do I give to couples who are in toxic relationships to help pull them out of that and to heal it so that they can have a better relationship and improve their lives? And one thing that I always tell every couple is have date nights. Right? Make the relationship a priority. Set aside time for one another to play and have fun and to connect, to dream together, to laugh together. And so I took that idea of having date nights, of making the relationship a priority. And since I had discovered that my money relationship was really toxic, much like that couple, I applied that same idea to my money relationship. And I thought, okay, I need to set aside time in my schedule to pay attention to my money. Where is it going? What is it doing? What is it not doing for me? Answer some of those hard questions that I'd sort of been putting off and ignoring because my money relationship was like love-hate. I wanted more of it. I felt like I couldn't get enough. But then, behind closed doors or in my own mind, really, I was saying things like, I can never count on money. It's never there for me. And so having those mixed feelings really made for a complicated relationship with money. And that's really what I need to work on. So I started setting money dates, which is basically just setting aside time on a regular basis to check in with my money. What's it up to? What's going on with it? To love up on it a little bit, to appreciate it, to say nice things to it, if you will. And I know that sounds a little hokey, but that's sort of how our mind works. Like, we need to make sense of things. And one way our brain can understand something and make sense of it is if we personify it, if we give it a character, if we make it like a person and give it attributes. And so I basically started applying couples therapy techniques to my own relationship with money, started to date it, if you will, so that I can improve my relationship with it, manage it better, and pull myself out of that financial mess I had created.
And it obviously worked.
Yeah, in fact, the results are pretty amazing. That $87,000 worth of debt that I had hanging over my head, I was able to pay off in 2 years. And the business that was struggling to bring in any money started to grow and build and became a 6-figure business in that same time period. So, I think that sometimes we think that when we've got money issues, it's all about the money management piece, that we have to learn what to do with money. And when it comes to money management, that's actually pretty easy to learn. And there's a lot of resources out there at our fingertips that teach us those practices and principles. But the harder stuff is that inner work that we have to do in regards to the way that we look at money, how we feel about money, because our thoughts about money influence our feelings about it, and our feelings about money influence the way that we behave with it. And so if we don't tend to that relationship that we have with money, we might learn different money management practices, but we're probably going to go back to those old unhealthy habits at some point, and that's going to sabotage any progress that we've made from a financial perspective in the end. So it's like getting to the core of the issue, and dealing with the money relationship is a really important part of the process.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love that. So, making time to date our money will change our relationship with money. Can we speak more to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me ask you a question, and you can probably speak for many of the women listening. What feelings come up for you when you think about money?
I'm trying to change my relationship with money, I admit, but certainly thinking about some of the old stories of the past as well. So maybe coming from a position of lack, so there's not enough money to go around. Money doesn't grow on trees is a really common one. Money's really hard to come by, and you've got to hang on to it because it will just go away tomorrow. Those sorts of things.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally common feelings that a lot of women have about money. And it's really common for people to have these complicated emotions coming up because we aren't given a manual on money. We aren't taught necessarily how to manage it very well. And unfortunately, there is this prevailing message in society that gives us this idea that, like, as a woman, we're not good with numbers, we're not good at math, we're not good at money. And if we buy into messages like that, well, then we really feel scared of money, or we doubt our own ability to make good decisions with money. And that leads to us giving up our financial power. Okay, so there's a really staggering statistic here. 58% of women will turn over financial decision-making to a male partner. And the reason why that is because of the feelings that we have about money, right? We doubt our ability to be good with it. We don't trust our judgment. We feel like it's a scarce resource that we can't bring into our lives. So we turn to the men in our lives and we're like, okay, well, this guy, he makes more money than me, so he must be better with it. And he's probably better at math, so he can manage it better and things like that. But there's a real danger in that. And it's that, okay, well, what happens to us women if our partner dies, or if we get divorced, or if the male partner that has been making all the financial decisions becomes incapacitated in some way and can't do that anymore? And we're also trusting that person to make decisions that are in our best interest. And that might not be the case. Or they might be doing their best to make decisions in our best interest, thinking that they're doing the best thing financially, but sometimes we don't know what we don't know, right? And so it's really important that women be involved in financial decision making, to claim their financial power and have their hands on it. But if we've got complicated feelings, if we feel anxious, afraid, overwhelmed about money, then we're like, nope, hands off. I'm going to avoid it. It's really uncomfortable. I'm just going to pretend it doesn't exist. But that doesn't resolve our problems with money. It really only makes them worse. And so that's why it's so important to, first of all, take a look at how you feel about money and then start to explore, like, okay, where is this coming from? Why do I feel this way? What underlying beliefs are at play here? And then start to shift out of that mindset and that mentality. And some people are going to say, well, how do I go about doing that, Nicole? Like, what is the first step to forming a new mindset? And that's where this whole idea of dating your money comes in, okay? So if you're thinking about, say, your partner, and you feel anxious talking to them, you feel afraid of their response, you are uncomfortable in their presence, are you going to want to spend time with them? Mm-hmm. Probably not. No, you're not going to set a date night, right? You're going to be like, leave me alone. The same goes for money. So if you're thinking about money as something scary, as something scarce, as something hard to get your hands on, as something uncomfortable, then you're not going to set aside time to pay attention to it. But if you look at your partner and you're like, they're so much fun, they're so interesting, we get to play together, we can laugh, we can go out into the world and do things, then you're going to be like, let's get a babysitter and let's go out, right? And the same goes for your money. If you think about this idea of dating your money and seeing it in a different way, seeing it as positive, as curious, as flirty, right? And embarking on managing your money in that way, like spending time with it, getting to know it, seeing where it's going, instead of saying, I need to do a budget, right? Like, which is more fun to you? Doing a budget or having a money date where you see what's going on with it, right? So it's just a little shift, but it can completely change the way that you feel about money. And if you change your feelings about it, then it's not going to be so scary, and you're going to be able to claim that financial power back.
Oh, that is really powerful. I love that. And what came up for me as you were talking about that is probably for perhaps women out there that haven't had positive interactions with money. Well, not interactions, I should say, maybe positive stories or, a positive history with money, the important role of gratitude in perhaps finding some of those more positive stories to do with money.
Right. Absolutely. And also the way that we talk about money is really important and powerful, but that also ties into how you feel about it. If you're really mad at your partner because they've been doing things that irritate you, when you get together with your mom girlfriends, you're totally going to rag on them, right? You're going to complain about how much they suck and how pissed off you are and all of that stuff, right? But the same goes for money. If you're feeling like you never have enough of it, it's never there for you, you have to fight to get your fair share, you're going to engage in conversations that are of that same nature. You're really going to be talking smack on your money, essentially. And that just begets more negative feelings, right? And have you ever had like a gossip session with other women where they're, talking in a negative way about their partner? Like, yeah, my partner does that too. And oh my gosh, and then there's like a huge uproar. Well, that's what happens with money too. Or what's even worse is not talking about money at all, which I think is more prevalent than talking negatively about it. Because there's a lot of embarrassment or shame sometimes around money. Like, I should be making more money than I'm making, and so I don't want anybody to know that. Or I should be spending my money in better ways, and I feel like I'm squandering it, and I don't want anybody to know that. Or I have all this debt, and I'm really ashamed that I got myself into this mess, and so I don't want anybody to know about that. But the problem with not talking about money is that then we're not helping each other. We're not giving each other pointers or tips or teaching one another what we've learned from our own personal experiences and helping each other out. And that's really what needs to happen. Shifting the conversation to be more positive about money, seeing it in a happier, more fun light, and engaging in conversations of that nature. But having the conversation to begin with is really what the most important thing is, so that we can know we're not alone in our money stress, and that it takes an emotional toll on all of us. But just because we've been in bad places financially in the past, it doesn't mean that we have to continue to be in those places, or that there can be a new and brighter financial future for us.
That's a really lovely thing that you've finished with there, because certainly some of the language that I have heard before is around, well, it's always been like this for me. So, and I'm in a salaried position. I've always been bad with money. We've always been in debt. So if I'm not going to make any more money, so it's clearly never going to change for me. And that's obviously not right.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that it's tempting to sort of get caught up in how much money you have. But when we focus just on the bottom line, on the numbers, it's never going to feel like enough. So really, it's more a matter of what you do with the money that you already have. Because that was a trap that I fell into, when I was like being a bad girlfriend to my money, was thinking of it like, I don't have any money. I'm broke, right? But I did have money. There was some money there. I just didn't know where it was going. And this is a problem that a lot of us experience because, only 1/3 of Americans, now this is just a US stat, but about 1/3 of Americans use a budget. First of all, I hate that word budget. I like to replace it with spending plan, because budget seems very restrictive, right? Like you can't spend any money at all. But spending plan is just coming up with a plan for your money, and that feels a lot freer to me, right? Because money is a resource and a tool, and it's there for us to use in ways that we see fit, right? But only 1/3 of Americans are actually planning for their money. They know where it's going. They know how much they're spending on things. They're being intentional about the decisions that they're making and how they choose to use that resource or tool. And that's kind of a shame, because if we don't know where our money is going or what we're doing, then that's going to create a lot of anxiety for us. And it's going to give us this impression that there's never, ever enough. There never will be enough. But when you actually look at what you have, and you build on that, and you make a plan for that, and you're more intentional about decisions surrounding the money that you already have, well, then, you can see hope. Like, you're like, okay, I know what I'm doing. I can go from here. I can build on this. And then you can see a brighter future for yourself. But you have to set aside time to do that. Like, you have to have the money day, right? So that you can work on the spending plan, and you can see how your values line up with the decisions that you're currently making with your money, and where the disconnect is there, and then make different decisions so your money is being put to greater use for you.
So, Nicole, take us through what a money date might look like.
Yeah, the possibilities for money dates are endless. And a lot of people that I work with are like, how do I even get started doing this? I mean, this is such an unusual idea. I don't know where to start. And so I have a really fun Date Your Money planner that I'm offering as a free gift to everybody here. And it's a fun and easy way to get started dating your money. So it tells you a little bit about the process and what kind of first dates you can schedule. And then it gives you 7 sexy, flirty money date ideas that you can schedule in your calendar right now, and all the juicy details on how to plan it. So if you're wanting to get started dating your money, and so that you can feel differently about the relationship that you have with it and turn your financial situation around, I hope that you use this planner to help you.
That's awesome. Is there any, and I will encourage all our ladies to go and have a look at that, but is there any sort of standout step or, flirty idea that you've got in there that we can talk about and reveal here?
Yeah, I mean, it could be a very simple money date, like going to coffee. Okay, so maybe you take your laptop with you and you go to the local Starbucks and you find a seat in the corner and you indulge in your most favorite delicious beverage on the menu, and just pull up your laptop and open up your bank account and just poke around in there. It's like a getting to know you type of date. Imagine a first date where you're getting to know, somebody really dreamy that you've been admiring, and you want to get to know better. And you're just like, where have you been? What have you been up to? What are your hopes and dreams for the future? And so as you're poking around in your bank account, you can say, okay, what money is here and what would I love to do with this money? And where has my money been going? Like, what have I been spending my money on? And are those the things that I really want to spend money on? Because when you're having a date with somebody, it's not just about getting to know them. It's about deciding, like, is this a person I want to spend more time with? And you're sort of doing the same thing with your money. Because you're like, okay, is my money working for me? Am I putting it to good use? Do I want to continue using my money in this way, right? And so we want to approach our money dates from a place of curiosity, okay? We're just poking around and looking to see what's there. It's not like you don't want to go into it like, what am I doing wrong? Or how am I wasting my money? Or what do I need to do better? Because then we're just saying the negative. It's like going to that coffee date with that dreamy person and thinking, what is wrong with this person? And what are their flaws? And how is this relationship going to end badly? I mean, that's no fun at all. So as you're sitting in Starbucks with your laptop, poking around in your bank account, you want to look for what's great about your money. Like, what is it doing well? Where is it going that you're really happy that it's providing that for you, or it's giving you something, or that it's been used really well, right? So we want to focus on the positives and the strengths and just take in the information. Just explore, be curious, get to know it. That's a really good first money date idea. And it's very simple. But then you could also get really elaborate. Like in the Date Your Money planner, there's like a romantic getaway. You could spend a whole weekend, like lounging around in lingerie with chocolate covered strawberries and fantasizing about all the adventures you're going to go on with your money. And, it sounds sort of hokey and ridiculous, but if you bring it back down to what you would realistically do during that time is you would put aside all distractions and maybe you would journal about your long-term financial goals. What do you really want your money to do for you? Does it mean taking 3 months off and touring around Europe? Does it mean buying your dream home on the beach? Does it mean, starting your own business? It can look like a number of different things. But allowing yourself to dream about what money can provide for you is a great money date, because it sort of makes you fall in love with your money instead of seeing it as this fearful, terrible thing that just causes problems and stress in your life. You can see it as this wonderful, amazing tool, which is what it really is, that can help you to create the life that you want. And not just in the material sense, okay? It's not just about buying or having things. It's about the experiences that money can offer you. It's about the freedom that money can provide to you. And it's not about how much money, because that's all relative and personal for each person. I mean, like one person's goal could be to make $10,000 a year, and another person's goal could be to make $10 million a year. But it's just about setting personal goals for yourself and the plan for how you're going to spend that money when it comes into your life. And that can be a dreamy little money date right there.
I just love that. That's fantastic. I'm so doing that.
Yeah, it makes it fun. It's like you want to pull out the journal and the pen and get busy, right? Like you want to sit down in front of your bank account and poke around and see what's happening there. And that's the whole point of this, is making it fun and playful, something that you actually want to do, so that you're looking at your money with new eyes and you can see it as a happy, positive thing instead of something that is scary and worth dreading.
Yeah, that's right. And I wonder if, so you talked a lot about the people that don't look at money at all. It just kind of goes by a bit. And I think I probably fell more into that category. There's also, I think, women out there that feel they're the ones that are doing all of the bill paying. That's pretty much their role. So they might be thinking, well, I already know what's going on with my money and I don't feel any better about it. So do you think that's falling into that budget only kind of category where it's quite restrictive and you're only looking at the bad things?
Yeah, quite possibly. I mean, our brains are sort of biologically predisposed to gravitate towards the negative. we tend to pick out what isn't going well much more readily than we are to notice what is going well, which is why I make that suggestion. Be curious, but try to find the strengths in your situation. Because if you're just paying attention to what is going wrong, then what you're doing is saying, my financial situation is broken in some way. Well, we can't build on broken, right? We can build on strengths. If there's one good thing happening in the financial situation, for example, if there's some money coming in, okay, even if it doesn't feel like enough, if there's money coming in on a consistent basis, that's a positive, that's a strength, that's something that's going well. That's something that you can build on. So sometimes we have to search for that, because sometimes the strengths aren't easily apparent. We have to do some digging to get there. But in regards to this scenario, I would also say that if there are some moms out there that are managing all the finances and paying all the bills, their partners also need to be involved in that decision making. Because just like I was saying a moment ago, we don't want women to give up their financial decision making power and turn it over to somebody else. We don't want these women to be responsible for making all the decisions for their partners either. I mean, that's a big burden to bear. And so that's something that needs to be shared by both people in the relationship, or if you're in a business relationship, by both owners of the business or whoever's involved in the financial matters, because whatever decisions are made is going to impact everyone in the family or in business or what have you. And so those are important conversations that need to be had. And those conversations aren't easy to navigate. It's hard to talk about money because money does bring up a lot of complicated emotions. Here again, it's a matter of how we feel about money. And that's why I do the work that I do as a financial therapist, because it's all about taking a look at the relationship with money, what that looks like, what's going well, what needs work, improving and deepening that relationship, and teaching people how to navigate those hard conversations, how to work better with their partners when it comes to financial matters, how to earn their worth, how to manage money well, how to feel confident in their financial decisions. And sometimes it's not a simple process, but that's where having a professional work with can often be very useful and handy, because you have somebody who is coming from it at a neutral perspective, very objectively, that can say, okay, here's what I see is working for you, and this is what we can build on and keep doing. And here are the areas that are problematic, and here's what we need to do to work through those and overcome them. So I use a lot of the skills that I use as a psychotherapist when I'm doing financial therapy, because there is such a big psychological and emotional piece to money. And I think that that's the part that a lot of financial advisors or financial planners sort of skip over. Financial planners are really great and useful when it comes to managing your money, investing, and those sorts of things. But when it comes to the money relationship, or how you feel about earning money, for example, that's where we have to go a little bit deeper.
Definitely. And that idea around, it is all mindset shift, isn't it? Choosing, I'm going to choose to think differently about this. I'm going to choose to find the strengths. I'm going to choose to perhaps invest in getting someone to help me with this because I haven't been able to make traction myself. And that's the same whether it's money or goals or, your relationship in general. It's choosing a different way of thinking.
Yeah. And, working with a professional on money matters is a great investment, because if you think about it, we deal with money every single day. It makes up a huge part of our life. We can't live without it. It's just as important as like the food that we put in our bodies. It's just as important as the mattress that we sleep on every night. It has a big impact on our overall life experience. And so, I just encourage anybody who is listening to this, like, if this is a pain point for you, just know you are not alone, okay? So many people struggle with their money. It is nothing to feel guilty or ashamed about or embarrassed about, because I would say majority of people have complicated feelings when it comes to money, and you're not hopeless. There are lots of resources out there. There are, a lot of sources for help. And as you said, it's just a matter of making the decision that you deserve that help and asking for it and accepting it. And, being open to the possibility of really experiencing your dream life and using your money in ways that just bring you everything that you can dream of, because it is possible with a little bit of work.
Oh, that's awesome. And I do love a chat that ends in possibility. But I do have one last question for you.
Sure.
You're further down the track, Nicole. Are you still dating your money?
Absolutely. Every week you'll find in my planner money day blocked off with a big chunk of time so that I can love up on my money so it will love me back.
I love that. It's fantastic. Thank you so much. It's been such a fabulous chat and so practical, so helpful as well. And I just so appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me. It was a real pleasure talking with you.